So today I'm going to show you how to make this scarf ready for autumn. So here's the scarf up close, and it's made for the main body of doing a half double crochet stitch in back loop only, and the ends are made with just a simple single crochet stitch along the edges. But I am going to show you some different ways that you can finish this off, including with some cute tassels, some different types you can do. So let's start off, as always, with a foundation row. The foundation row is going to consist of chains, and you need to make the chains to go along the length of your scarf. You need to aim, my scarf is 72 inches long, which is around about 6 foot, 180 centimetres. Now I'm using worsted weight wool for this, and I'm using a 6.5 millimetre hook to do this. The reason for that is it gives a little bit more drape if you make it a little bit looser, so don't crochet too tightly. Try and leave a good amount of tail at the end. This will help you just to weave in your ends when you're finished. Now I'm not going to do 180 centimetres of chain. I'm just going to do a few just so you can see what you have to do. So I'm going to do about 20 of just simple chain all the way along. And however long you want your scarf to be, you can keep measuring. When you get to the length, do 2 extra chains. Then you're going to go into the 1, 2, 3, third chain from hook, and you're going to do half double crochet. So I'm going to show you how to do those. A half double crochet, you do a yarn over first, then you go through the chain, yarn over, bring that through the chain, and now you've got 3 hoops on your hook, yarn over and take off those 3 hoops, and that's your first half double crochet. Let me show you again. Yarn over, then you go through your chain, yarn over, and take through all 3 hoops over, yarn over, through the chain, yarn over, take all 3 hoops off, yarn over, through the chain, bring through the yarn, yarn over, take off 3 hoops, yarn over, through the chain, yarn over, back through the chain, yarn over, take off 3 hoops. And you're going to carry on doing this all the way to the end of your chain, which when you're doing 180 centimetres is a long way. Obviously, if you're making a scarf for a child, it doesn't need to be as long. What you can do is you can look if there's any scarves they already wear to get an indication of what kind of length you'd like it to be. It also depends how you like to wear your scarf. So for mine, I always double it up before I wrap it around my neck, and then I poke the ends through the halfway fold on the scarf, so I need them a little bit longer in general. And go all the way to the end of the chain. Now when you get to the end, for a half double crochet, you will need to do 2 chains at the end of the row, rather than just 1 chain like you would do of a single crochet. There we go. So I've got to the end. I'm going to do 1, 2 chains. Now if you look along the top of our stitches, you can see these V's. Now normally, if we were going to do a half double crochet and carry on as normal, we would yarn over and then we would go underneath both of those and carry on like that, but we're not doing it that way. We are going to look at these two, and we're going to completely ignore this front loop. We're going to go for the back loop only. So yarn over as you normally would, yarn over, and we're not going to go through the front loop, we're going to go through the back loop. Yarn over, bring it through, yarn over, take off 3. Now this can look like you're stretching it quite a bit, but don't worry about that. I'll show you a comparison in a moment. So yarn over, then at front and back loop only, yarn over, take off 3, get a bit more yarn. Same thing again, yarn over, have a look at the top, front loop, back loop, take the back loop only. There we go. Yarn over, front loop, back loop only. And you're going to carry on with this all the way to the end. Again, just doing that back loop only. Now this can be a little bit more fiddly than it would be if you were just going through both loops as normal, but there's a very good reason why we're doing this. Remember, when you're crocheting, keep everything very loose. If you crochet too tightly, then your scarf won't really have a lot of drape. It'll be a lot stiffer. It'll feel more like you're wearing a neck brace than you are a scarf. So when you're doing this scarf, try and just practice loosening up your tension, just so it becomes more flexible and more comfortable to wear. Now obviously I'm using a worsted weight wool. You could go for double knit. You'd probably need to reduce your hook size down a little bit, probably down to like a 4.5 or a 5 mil, or you can go for chunky, it's up to you. Obviously that'll work up a lot quicker. There we go. Now if you look here, you can start to see that because I've put it into the back loop only, this front loop, we've got a nice row of all these front loops, and what this does is it starts to produce the ribbing that we have on the scarf. If I show you my scarf here, it gives this ribbing effect that we have. If we don't do back loop only, here's what a half double crochet looks like without doing the back loop only, and it's very flat, you can see. So I'm going to do a few more rows on here. Again, half double crochet, back loop only. So we've got to the end of the row. We're going to do 2 chains, 1, 2, and we're going to carry on back loop only with half double crochets. Now you can make your scarf as wide as you want, but when you do, make sure you've got an even number of rows. Now you don't need to count each row, it's not necessary. All you need to make sure of is wherever your tail is, you're going to finish on the opposite side, and that way you know you've done an even number of rows. Keep going, back loop only. Grab myself a bit more yarn. There we go, back loop only. Carry on all the way. Lovely jubbly, and you can, again, don't worry if you feel like this bit here is stretching too much. It's supposed to do that, and I'll explain why, but I'll show you why at the end of this row. This is the problem with making YouTube videos about crocheting, is what to talk about in the space while you're trying to finish off a row. Nearly there. There we go. And at the end of the row. There we go. Oh, double crochet. Let's try one again. There we go, half double crochet completed. And you can really start to see now that this rib forming in what we're doing here. Now I want to show you the reason why we're doing back loop only, and the reason is again, it's to help with the drape of the scarf, so that when it falls on you there's a bit more give to it. So if I take the difference here, this is a half double crochet where it's gone through both loops, and there's a little bit of flexibility, but there's not much. But if I go to the ribbed version, and you can see there's loads of give, and it stretches and it moves a lot better. So the back loop only not only makes this beautiful ribbon pattern, but it also makes the scarf more comfortable to wear, and it looks better as well. So I'd really recommend that you do the back loop only. You don't have to, you could do it flat like this example here, but it's not quite as interesting. Now I'm going to keep going with my half double crochets on this little sample I'm doing. So if you crack on with your rows, I'll meet you back at the end and I'll show you how to do the ends. Right, so I've got to the end of the length of my scarf, and I've done an even number of rows because I'm finishing off on the opposite side to the tail, but I'm not going to fasten off because I'm going to keep using the wool to start going across the side of my scarf with my single crochet. Now some people find this quite tricky because they're not quite sure where to put their stitches. So what I recommend for beginners is that you use some stitch markers or paper clips or safety pins, and have a look at some regular places where you can do this. So if we look first of all these front loops, and you can see at the end we've got these little bits here. If I mark them, there we go. So everywhere where you've got a rib, there should be a little hole, little gap that you could put a stitch into. There's another one, and there's another front loop with the hole. In it goes. Now obviously they're a bit too, turn that round. There you go. They're a little bit too far apart. We need another one in between those. So if we have a little look, and there's another lovely little gap halfway in between them right there. So I'm going to place a marker in there and do the same. So again, there's my two blue ones, and there's a lovely gap right in the middle that I'm going to go for. Now obviously if you experience this, you don't need to put markers in. And put another one in there. There-ish, I think. And we need one at the end, which is going to go in right at the end. Now let's have a look at those. I think, just looking, I think the greens and the blues are quite close together. I think possibly, looking at these, there's a bit of a gap here. So maybe just to the other side of the front loop rib, there might need to be another colour. Otherwise I think the stitches could be stretched a bit too much. So I'm going to look at this front loop rib, and just to the left hand side of it, I think we could put another stitch in there. So there's the rib, I think a little one in there. There's the rib, one in there, and another rib, another one in there. Let's have a look at the spacing on those. I think that's probably about right. So we've got to the end of our half double crochet going lengthways. You're going to do one chain, and that will get us ready to turn around. Now I'm actually going to do another chain here for a little bit of leeway. I'm going to go into our first stitch marker. Now these are going to be single crochets only. There it goes, one single crochet, go to the next stitch marker, single crochet. If they get in the way, you can always take out the markers before you pop your single crochet stitch in there. I'm just going to keep them in there for now. Done the green, into the blue, into the pink, into the green, into the blue, into the pink, a bit more tricky, there we go, get it in, into the green, into the blue, into the pink, and last of all into this last green one. Okay, now I've done that, a bit of space, I'm just going to take these stitch markers out. Let me pause the video whilst I finish. Okay, all the stitch markers are gone now. So we've got our first row of single crochet going along the side. We're going to do one chain, turn it around, and this time we're going to go through both hoops, both loops on the chain. You can do a ribbed effect with this as well, and do a front loop or back loop only, that's up to you. I'm going to keep this simple and go through both loops. So going to single crochet all the way across. Now how many rows of single crochet is completely up to you. I chose to do 10 rows on mine, but it's whatever you think looks pretty. If you want to, you could do single crochets and put maybe in a row of doubles or trebles just to give a bit of a pattern at the end. This scarf really is customizable for you and what you would like to do. It's a nice basic pattern for everyone to utilize. And then across again, one chain at the end, single crochet all the way along. Now after you've spent ages making your really long scarf, these ends will go nice and quickly as you'll work your way through. And when you've finished your single crochet rows at the end, get to the end, however many rows you decide to do, you're going to end up here, and get your snips, leave a good length and fasten off. Now when it comes to the other end, obviously you need to attach your yarn, so if you're not sure how to do this, I'm going to show you my technique. And all I'm going to do is, there's my yarn, I'm just going to loop it like that, so it's not like a proper slip knot, but you can do one if you want. I just hold it on, and I'm going to go to the end where I've got the tail where I started from. Again, you can use stitch markers along here to show where you need to put your single crochet. I'm just gonna ad-lib it, as it were, and let me just get this right around. There we go. So all I've done, so there I am with my yarn I've put over the top. I'm going to poke that through the first gap that I want to use, bring through some yarn and yarn over and just take them all through. That's all I'm going to do there, and do the same, and then I'm going to go across to the next hole that I want to use, single crochet. Now at the end here where I've got the yarn tail from where I started and the yarn tail from where I've just attached, I'm just going to do a simple granny knot in there just to tie those two ends together, and I can sew those in later. And I'm going to carry on with my single crochet row all the way along, just as I did before. And again, if you find it tricky to figure out where to put your hook, then all you need to do is get some stitch markers in place first, just to test out where you think it should go and see if they're about the right space apart. Just go in there. Okay, so this scarf really is a good one to do for beginners. It's very forgiving. You can do whatever length you want, whatever width you want. You don't have to do half double crochet. You could do double crochets in front loop only. The back loop only will give you the ribbing effect and that extra little bit of stretch in your scarf, but you can do that with any stitch. You could even go for trebles if you wanted to, or a mixture of different stitches as you go along. But the half double crochet does build up quite nicely and quickly. So again, you're at the end, single crochet, chain at the end, then you're going to single crochet all the way along, which will be easier this time because you're not trying to guess where your stitches are going to go. All the way across. And again, I did 10 rows of single crochet at each end of my scarf, but you don't have to. You can do more, you can do less. It's completely up to you. And you don't even need to do single crochets at the end. You can just finish it as it is, or you can do what I'm going to show you next, which is add some tassels. I am a fan of tassels on scarves, I have to admit. Nearly there. One more to go. There we go. And I'm just going to fasten off there because you get the idea of what needs to be done. Okay, so there's my very, very small mini scarf that I've made. And you're going to have all these bits here. Now, these will need to be woven in, and I'm going to show you how to do that as well. Okay, you'll often hear crocheters bitching about weaving in ends. Very common because we're here to crochet, we're not here to sew, but unfortunately it is a necessary evil, so you will need to get yourself a darning needle, nice big eye on it, and then you're going to have to hide this yarn within the scarf. Now, if you fastened off, I find that if you take where you've come out and take it backwards, so I'm going to head down here, and that just secures it a little bit better. And all you're going to do is just weave it through some of the stitches that you've crocheted already. And there's no exact science to this. You've just got to find some stitches that mean that you're kind of going in the same direction as the yarn underneath. I'm going to head down here a little bit. And typically I probably go through 8 to 10 different areas. I don't just go in one direction, I go in several directions just to make sure that the yarn's kept in there. And go that way and down through here. And when I've done about 8 or 10, all I end up doing is getting my snips, taking it off, then it's all hidden in there. So you need to do the same with all of the extra bits as well. Now, once you've got rid of all your ends, here's my sample. So here, if you imagine this is the end of your scarf, you can put tassels in. And I've got 2 types of tassels here. So this is just the yarn that's been folded in. This started off exactly the same as this one, but all I've done for this is I've taken each bit of yarn, and there's 4 strands, and all I've done is just separate them. And usually it's easy to do this to the end. I forgot. So if you start from the base, it's a lot easier. Pull them apart. There we go. And then take those and pull them apart. And when you do that, you get this softer, fuzzier tassel as a result. But you can see doing that with tassels all the way along the end of the scarf could take a long time. So it's completely up to you aesthetically which one you would rather do. And once you've put them all in place, then you'd obviously just snip them along the edges to make them nice and straight. So the way to do this is nice and simple. You need to get your yarn, you need to cut a load of lengths, however long you want your tassels to be. Make sure that the lengths are twice as long because you're going to need to fold the yarn in half. So these ones are around about 12 centimetres, so I've made my yarn 25 centimetres long. And the reason why it's a little bit longer is because of how they get attached. So you take your yarn and you folded it in half, make sure the ends are relatively near each other, and I'm just wrapping it around my finger for now. Find where you need to put your tassel in. Now usually I put it in every other space along the end, so put one in there, skip one, put it in the next one. So I insert my hook, I'm going to put all of the ends on there, pull it through, and then I'm going to pull those through the hole. I'll show you again how that's done. Once you've pulled the yarn through, you're going to get the ends, bring them through the loop, and then put it tight. And there's your tassels. Then all you need to do is snip them so they are the same length. Some people like to put a ruler down and cut along a ruler. It's completely up to you. But you'll notice that if you unwind your yarn, it will be longer. It looks quite nice actually, alternating the ends. So there you have it. There is my tutorial on how to make yourself a nice autumn scarf with ribbing, with a nice finish to the end, and if you want to, how to add tassels.